Hello. This is Donna.
And Jen.
And we are doing Intentional Monday. And the topic is, what is the thought and what do you do with the thought that just won't go away? What to do with the thought that won't go away? That is the question. So, hello Johnny, good to see you. We'll wait for a few people to come on. Hi Linda, good to see you. Hey Sandy, good to see you. We're about to, you want to share this with some friends. We're about to talk about what to do with the thought that won't go away. What to do with the thought that won't go away. And let me ask you a question. Do you have thoughts that won't go away? Do you have thoughts that won't go away? Sometimes I have a thought that just won't go away and it bugs me and it makes me crazy sometimes. At least it feels like it makes me crazy. What about you?
Oh, sure. Even recently.
Yeah.
More than I'd care to admit.
And you wonder sometimes, are they good thoughts? Are they bad thoughts? What are the thoughts? Hey, Sally. Jen and me say, hey, girl.
Hello. Snatch that ink.
We're saying hello. That's right. Hi, Sharon. Good to see you, too. Anyway, we're talking today about what to do with the thought that won't go away. And interest you to share with a friend or privately message a friend with a share. That'd be awesome. We're going to talk about some intense but interesting things that have occurred that could help you in some way or help you help someone else in some way in their thought life or their day-to-day living life. And so I'm going to start with asking you, what are the kind of thoughts in you that just won't go away? Hello there. Hi, Kaisha. Good to see you. What is a thought that has not been able to go away in you? If you want to comment down below, say, what is the thought? And then next to it, write down your thought. It could be a negative thought. It could be a positive thought. Could be a thought you had 40 years ago. Could be a thought you've only had all week. Write down the thought below. What is that thought? You think about it, and then when you have it, write it down in the comments, and I'll be looking for it. I'll be looking for the thought that you say has not been able to go away. And we're going to do some same things. So positive thoughts that won't go away. Let's before we get into our stories.
Positives.
What about thoughts that, going through the grocery store and there's a thought that just won't go away? You think of one?
A positive one?
We're doing this on the fly. Can you tell we do things on the fly and we don't plan them out so well?
Okay, a positive one at the grocery store. I don't always eat 100% awesomely for my body. I do like little treats here and there. For the most part, though, I like to not put complete junk in my body all the time. So when I have enough funds and when I have the time and when I have a plan, some sort of plan, I like to be able to go to the store and be like, all right, I'm so thankful I have all this money, because sometimes healthy food costs more money than junk food. It's a problem in our world today. And I'll be like, all right, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this, organic that, organic this, organic that, fresh and raw here, tasty and amazing there, colorful over there. And it's just kind of like this, I have to keep it healthy, I have to keep it good, and it can be tasty too, because I don't just need to eat sticks that healthy things taste like, and gravel. So I guess that's something from, you said the grocery store, so that's to me like that thought of like, no, it has to be healthy, it has to be good, it has to be great.
Okay, that's a thought.
Like that.
No, that's true. So when you're thinking, it's going through your mind. Okay, what about a thought like, you're driving down the road and you keep having this thought like, I need to go to such and which. I need to go to such and which.
I see what you're saying.
I just need to go to such and which. And so it makes absolutely zero sense to go to such and which, but you're going to go to such and which. And sure enough, you get there and you see somebody you haven't seen in 20 years. You're like, oh my gosh, had I not followed that thought, I I wouldn't have seen this person, right? There are things like that that take place. There are also things that, go ahead.
Definitely.
You probably thought of one. Go ahead.
Yes, now that I just got clarity on the intention of that question, there's a lot of times where someone has come to my heart. Now, I have not always been the best person about follow through, but I have been learning. Just because someone's been on my mind for days and I'm thinking all these ooey gooey thoughts toward them, they don't know that. And so I need to take action there. And sometimes it's happened where they're just really glad to talk to me and they're just loving me and they appreciate an encouragement. Other times, someone's in a really bad place and it was like, it felt literally like from God that I called them, even if they weren't even thinking about God. It just felt like God must have sent you my way because that's such a blessing to me. And my day is so much better. I was in a really tough spot. So that actually has happened many, 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 many times.
Okay, so I want to talk about a thought that didn't go away. It was a long time ago, and then tell you about a thought that that kept prompted to keep coming to me. And both of these seemed like awesome thoughts. You'd have thought, wow, that's just a thought. That's an awesome thought. What a great idea. Wow. So mid-90s or so, I'm thinking about, my mind is inundated with all these things that I have been doing for a specific leader. I have been leading in these different things. I've been enjoying these different things. I've been highlighted in all these different matters. I've been helping some women with this and helping some other folks with this. And it just seemed like I was cooking with gas. And the thought came to my mind, wow, you're doing so good. You know what? The thought was, hey, if you died right now, then you would feel very accomplished, wouldn't you? And I thought, if I died right now. And then the thought was coming saying, if you went to heaven right now, it'd be fine. Heaven's for all the time. And then I was thinking, wow, yeah, I guess, well, yeah. And then the thought was saying, well, if you've served your purpose, you might as well check out. So these thoughts are going. So now listen, I'm pretty new in an area of believing and having any kind of thought process of truth. And so I was coming into agreement with those thoughts thinking, yeah, let's rock on. Let's go on to heaven. Let's go see the man. That's where it's at. Isn't that what we're taught? Hey, when you die, you get to go to heaven, and then you get to see Jesus. Well, those thoughts were rolling through me. And do you know what? I thank God today. A man called me on the phone that had been like a very special person in my life. As a matter of fact, he ended up giving me away at my wedding, standing in proxy for my dad. And he called and just said to me, Donna, what are you thinking about? And I said, that is so funny that you asked. I'm thinking about dying and going to heaven so I could see Jesus. And he's like, why are you thinking that? And I said, well, I don't know. I've just been thinking these thoughts, this and the other. And he began to direct me. He said, it's not God's intention and God's will that you just die and go to heaven right now. I said, but my thoughts are telling me I've already done all this good stuff, so I'm already finished. I've already done whatever I was supposed to do on the planet. He said, well, actually, he said, let me take you to a scripture. And actually where he took me was in the Old Testament. He said, let me tell you what happened in Psalm 91. And he got to the place about beholding salvation. Beholding salvation. He said that I would have long life and behold salvation. I thought, really? And so he redirected me and he said, listen, I want you to know that those are not thoughts that are from truth. They are not thoughts that are from a place of truth. Those are thoughts that are from a place of unbelief. Well, I would not have known that at the time. I just would not have known. So that stopped me in my tracks from going in the direction of, hey, let's do that now. Hey, let's die now. And maybe I would not have made an intentional, purposeful decision to go hurt myself, die, but I would have then all these other opportunities to be in that same thought. I would have stayed in that until maybe one day I would have died. So now, fast forward. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was in a place in my heart and I was looking at my sisters. I was looking at my sister Sandy. I was looking at my sister Betty. I was looking at my sister Marianne, who passed away some years ago. And I was thinking about how beautiful my sisters are. I was thinking about how much my sister Sandy had grown in her relationship with God. I was thinking about how much my sister Betty had grown in her relationship with God. And very interestingly enough, some very strong positive thoughts came. The thoughts came that said something like this. Wow, everything you've asked God for has already taken place. I said, yes, I've asked God to cause my sisters to be in love with Jesus. And I asked God for my niece and nephew to have peace, have a place of peace with God. And I've seen all these things come to pass. And then I realized, wow, all those things have happened. And I was so happy. I began to cry with thanksgiving for their lives. And all of a sudden I realized, hey, guess what? I guess I've done everything I wanted to do. Maybe I'm finished my course. What if the only thing I was supposed to do was bring forth my sisters and my family into a place where they loved God? And if that was my only purpose, then maybe it's okay that I move on and go to heaven and see Jesus. So I chewed on that for a couple days. You'd have thought it'd been easy, right? That was like a brick. That was a brick. I should have known that that was not true. But it took me a couple of days to realize, you know what? That thought was not from God. That was not a thought of truth. That was not a thought that was true. And that was not a thought that led me to truth. And that was not a thought that led me into a place of life and living. That was not a thought from God. But that was a thought that would not go away. And it sounded so sweet. And it sounded so kind. And it was so generous with regards to how thankful and grateful I am for my sisters and my family's lives. But that was not a thought from God. I want to talk to you about what are the thoughts that won't go away, and are they from God or are they from a place of unbelief? Your turn.
Well, I had an experience in that same vein, but it was a little darker. Years ago, I was in the lowest place, and I had had a lot of emotional heartbreak. I had a lot of physical problems going on with my body. I had a lot of relational issues happening. Spent most of my time by myself. I was living alone. I was in a job that I was very good at, but it was very stressful. And just a lot of shifting had happened in my world, some very suddenly. And I very quickly and surprisingly to myself just went into this low place. So I remember I didn't necessarily think, oh, I need to, I need to die. But something was creeping in, trying to paint a picture of that life would be okay if I were not on the planet. So sometimes it comes in that sneaky back doorway. And one of the things that happened with me was my brother, I have one brother, at the time he had a girlfriend. And God had already told me before all this funk was happening, God had already told me they're going to get married. She's going to be like your sister. And so I was happy that I heard that directly from him, because when you are confident in something being of God, which we're kind of talking about different voices and how to discern things and what to do with thoughts, but I knew that God had told me that. And so during this funk part, this really, really low place in my life, where it was looking really hopeless in a lot of areas, these thoughts started to come about, because I was thinking about my family, my parents, my brother, and what would they do if I weren't around. Again, not thinking, oh, I need to die, but then if I weren't here, just because I don't know how this is all going to roll, and that kind of thing, which might not seem as strong, but it was very strong. Reminds me of a chokehold from behind. You don't always see someone come up to you and start freaking you out, but it's that subtle vice grip that starts happening, and you're like, whoa, what's happening? That's what kind of, I guess, was going on. But these thoughts, these voices started to say, hey, when you're not here, not just if you're not here, but when you're not here, God is so kind. He's already taking care of your family. Look, He's already provided another daughter for them. Your parents don't even have to grieve. Look how well they get along. Look, your brother will have his wife. It will be the four of them again. It will be easy. They'll easily transition. No big deal. They've already got their new daughter.
Wow.
Isn't He so kind before you even live? And I was like, oh my gosh. And for a little while, I thought, it reminds me of the Jungle Book in the cartoon version, where Mowgli's up in the tree and Kaa, the snake, is trying to do his hypnosis thing, and he's singing his little song, and his eyeballs are all rainbowy and twirly and weird.
Mesmerizing, yes.
Yeah, and at first they're like, hey, no, and don't look at him. But then eventually Mowgli and different animals, like that one eye kind of pops like, boing, and they start getting swirly, and then they're both swirly, and it just takes a minute, and then they're just in the zone, like they're stuck. And that's kind of what happened to me at first, like, oh yeah, wow, God is really kind. He's amazing. He already is providing. And then it was like, I just snapped. In the Jungle Book, someone pulls the snake's tail and unravels Mowgli and kind of slaps him out of it. And he's like, whoa, what just happened? That's kind of what happened to me. Nobody was with me, so I know that it was God's voice of truth saying, hey, some sort of splash in the face, smack, something happened. And I went, whoa, that's the enemy. Like, that is not the voice of God. I just got this no way Jose about me. And so my struggles didn't stop that day, for sure. But that thought of like, oh yeah, they'll be fine, I don't need to be here, all of that nonsense, lies that was leading me and luring me into that mindset of just, you can just be gone, and who knows, like she said, what that would have led to. That stopped, and I was like, okay, I'm not having that voice. That thought is done. So that was that part. That was that story.
Have you had thoughts? Do you have a thought that doesn't go away? Let me tell you another thought that wouldn't go away for, honestly, for probably about 3 years. It was this. So see, I was with my sister Marianne when she passed away. And I was by myself with her. And the thought that went on with me were things like this. Man, if somebody else had been here, maybe she'd have lived. Oh, I made the wrong decisions in what I talked to the medical people about and those things that I did. I was the only one making those decisions. It's my fault she died. Mm-hmm. How about you killed your sister? Oh, let me tell you, I struggle with that one. It was a kind of thing where it would just sneak up at you. And all of a sudden, you're thinking about, wow, you killed your sister. And you're like, wait, what? And then you find yourself on the defensive on the inside. But I did the best I could. I thought I was making the right decisions. And you go through all this. And then 30 minutes later, you realize you're in this entwined, confusing mishmash of thoughts and ideas that have got so much of a strength of unbelief and confusion attached to it that it wants to pull you under. Why? So I can join my sister. Listen, we do have an enemy who is defeated, whose job is to steal, kill, and destroy if we let that thing steal, kill, and destroy. So knowing the truth and letting that truth set you free and make you free. Listen, sometimes you need people in your face to tell you things that you don't want to hear. You know, in that case, someone I know got in my face to tell me the truth about me not killing my sister. But guess what? I wanted to be responsible for killing my sister because I wanted to feel bad because she died on my watch. So in that place of penance, I wanted it to be all my fault so that nobody else could feel guilty and nobody else could feel bad. When the truth is, the real truth, cutting through everything, is my sister was tired and she was ready to leave. It was actually her decision. She started, I look back and I realize, starting in October, she had begun to make her little plans. November came around and Thanksgiving, and she didn't want to come have Thanksgiving with us. She wanted to just stay with her husband and them hang out by themselves. Christmas came around. She ended up being in the hospital. She didn't want anyone to be around them. And then January, she passed in January. Was that okay? I don't know. I really don't know. But I know God is not a control freak. And I know He was with her every step of the way. He was with her every moment of her suffering, her mourning, her pain. He was in her confusion. He was there for her in her hope and her strength. He was in there for her when she was reaching for my hand. He was there for her when she was deciding to remain. He was there for her when she took her first breath as a baby, and He was there for her when she took her last breath on this earth. And so me thinking I'm God and I get to take responsibility for her being born and her living and her dying, I had to remove myself from being God in that place. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my responsibility. But that was a thought that didn't go away until I was able to get that thing underneath my feet and bridge the gap between that place inside of me that wanted to feel that pain and that yuckiness so that I could feel better about her dying, and release it to Almighty God, who said, feeling all that junk is only going to keep me from running the race He has for me. Go ahead.
Thinking which one's next. I think this one's next.
Hold on 1 second. We're talking about the thought that won't go away. Sometimes the thoughts from unbelief, sometimes the thoughts from belief, sometimes the thoughts from an enemy, sometimes the thoughts from God. And it's discerning and figuring it out as you're living your life, what to do with that thought when you're in the moment and later when the moment's passed.
I was thinking how so many thoughts are just a lie or a judgment that we have that we may or may not realize. It's like a filter or like a pair of glasses. And so everything that you're looking, or as Donna calls it, like a lie, is like a worldview. So even though you may not even realize you're believing a lie, when you think something like that, you're wearing the glasses for it. And so everything else is filtered through that lie. And so one example for me with growing and having to discern thoughts and knowing what to do with thoughts and things like that was when I was a really little kid, I loved being very performy, like from in the house or around close friends. I'd put on little black patent leather shoes and pretend I had tap shoes on. I would tap all the time. I would put on little shows and plays. I loved pretending like I was singing all the time. Very, like, I was always been very into the arts. However, I went to one ballet lesson, or tap lesson. I wanted to take ballet. One tap lesson with a little friend when I was a kid. But I was so terrified of being on an actual stage of any kind or being put on the spot by anyone outside my very small comfort zone that I would just freeze and freak out and usually start to tear up and want to go hide somewhere. So that actually followed me for many years. I hated any kind of speech in class, but get me with a group of people, I was like often like the life of the party. But give me a microphone and there was such a stigma of like, oh my gosh, the world is staring at me. And that also means they're like critiquing every single thing, how I look, how I sound, just all of it. So different opportunities throughout my life of doing things like that, it was really, really challenging for me. I know there's a lot of people who have like, you know, issues with speech and stuff like that. Some people it's like, give me the microphone, I'll speak for you. But I think that I really was born a natural person to get up and speak and have something to say and not be afraid. But I just from so early had so much that was like, ah! So I'm definitely not all the way there yet, but I've grown leaps and bounds, and I know myself in that area, and it's just ridiculous how I can even sit here and do videos with Donna, because I would have so just been like, there's an episode of the Brady Bunch where Cindy is bragging that she's going to go on this game show, and ooh, look at me, I'm going to be on TV and all this. When she gets there, all she can see is the little red light on the camera, and she's like this the entire time. And they're like, so, asking questions and doing things, she's like, literally. And afterward, you know, they of course help comfort her that it's all good, because her identity was not based on that she was like this, or that she could have won the show, or whatever it was. So I was thinking about a particular season where I was called upon to be on a stage quite a bit, to use a microphone just about on a daily basis. I was teaching to very small groups and very large crowds. I was making announcements on behalf of some who's who type people. I was sometimes part of a music group that would be on a stage. Sometimes it was just one or two of us. And I play the cello, which is a very acoustic instrument, and mine doesn't have a pickup, which is, if you don't know, it's the thing that plugs into like a fancy speaker. So everything is very not rock and roll loud in your face. You have to really be paying attention. Or they have to put giant like microphones and things around me, and I have to have my own monitor. It's crazy. Anyway, so it can feel very vulnerable to me. And so I was not at the place yet during that season where I felt 100% confident. But as I was in that season, I kept growing, because the thoughts that were coming in the beginning were always the pre-event thoughts of, oh my gosh, what if, and I'm going to look like this, I'm going to sound like this, people are going to think this, or I have nothing to say, or they're going to regret inviting me up here, or anything like that. And then the thoughts during the actual speaking or the playing could be divided, like, oh yes, I'm just worshiping God, or, you know, I'm seeing this picture that I want to communicate to people, or something like that. But at the same time, oh my gosh, so-and-so's in the crowd, and what the heck are they going to be thinking, because they have experience in this area, or, you know, something like that, comparison happening, or, and then afterward, or like, am I talking too fast? Am I talking too slow? Am I talking too soft? And then afterward, the thoughts of, great, I could have done this, I should have done that, it would have been better like that, I'll probably never get asked to do this again, I'll probably never want to do this again, it had zero positive impact on anyone. And now many times people would come to me afterward and say so many positive things, and they were genuine. But it was still hard for me to receive sometimes, because like, yeah, they're just saying that because they're trying to be nice and la la la. So I had to grow in lots of different things in these thoughts about knowing who I am, and even if everyone in there thinks I'm an idiot, I'm not an idiot. So a lot of it has to do with knowing my identity and learning that voice of truth, rather than the thoughts of, you're all these negative things.
I want to interject here and tell you, what she's dealing with is something, or what she has dealt with in the past, is something many of us have dealt with. So see where you're at in this. It's called the emotion of self-consciousness. So self-consciousness looks like this. Oh my goodness, nobody look at me. Or, hey, everybody look at me. But it's both the same. And in that place where the thoughts of the enemy, I had huge self-consciousness as well. In the place of unbelief, where those thoughts of unbelief would come after her, it's because she has a genuine calling to be in front of people, a genuine calling to present herself in front of people, so that Hey there, Kelly. I'm fixing to talk about you, so stay right there. She has a genuine, I don't want to use the word anointing for people that think that's such a religious word, but she has a genuine presence about her when she's in front of people, okay? And sometimes the issues that we have are almost like a projection of the opposite of what we're really truly called to do or called to be or called to become. And she has an actual genuine presence when she has a microphone in her hand. Now, I did basically force her to start doing these things with me. I did basically force her to start doing Jumping with Jen. I mean, I did but that's because I saw the calling on her. I saw her with the microphone. I didn't know really she'd been in those places where she had done that in the past. I just knew I saw something on her, something in her that needed to come out, and be brought forth so the world could taste and see and know that Jen is awesome and amazing. Now, clearly, I don't have a problem with getting in front of people. I know. As I play in front of and it's not, it used to be like, oh, please look at me, come on, because I need you to make me feel important. I don't have that anymore. Honestly, I'm at a place where I know on the inside of me, I do have something that I can give someone that they can eat, and maybe they'll live and not die. I genuinely have place inside of me where I have some places developed inside of me where I know that I can give someone something. And they will eat of it, and they will remember it, and it will change their life forever if they'll listen. I know that I'm strong. I'm not strong in this self-conscious, oh God, please look at me. I'm strong in this, hey, I know that that if you share this with somebody, see people go, oh, share my video. All I'm saying, you share my video with somebody who needs it. Do it private. Maybe somebody will live and not die. Listen, wherever you are in your journey of what you know about yourself, once you find the motive, if you're afraid, then get your butt out there. If you're afraid for people to look at you, make sure you position yourself so you can be looked at. If you want people to look at you, have a genuine look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why. So that place inside of you that is so afraid of rejection, because that's what that is. Rejection wants to be in front of people so that you can get rejected. Because rejection wants to be rejected. That the whole emotion does exactly what it says it's going to do. It sets us up to get whatever it is we want. Now I want to talk about a lady that's on here. She already knows who she is because I already said her name earlier. Many of you will not know her. However, I knew her a long time ago. And give me some hearts. And you'll know that I want to know that you know that I'm hearing you. Are you there? That's my question. Are you there? Anyway, Kelly, this is a thing. Years ago, you impacted my life. And this is why. Because you had a genuine confidence about yourself. A genuine one. Oh, we both had issues. Granted, we're different people today. But you had genuine confidence. And I so was attracted to the genuine confidence that you lived out of. You lived out of a genuine confidence. I remember once calling you a few years back and asking you about some of the things. And you were like, to you it was like, well, you just do it. I just know I can. You know, you didn't have all this junk inside of you that I had inside of me that I had to continue to combat. And if you did, you know what you did with it? You quickly look at it and said, that's a bunch of hooey. That's not what I want. And you pick it up and you just throw it away and say, nope. A woman who wouldn't allow herself to be abused, wouldn't allow herself to be looked at wrong, wouldn't allow herself to be disrespected. Why? Because she had respect for herself already. I had to grow in the areas of respect of myself. What does the thought that won't go away have to do with all this? Usually the thoughts inside of us, whether they're good or whether they're evil, one thought that won't go away can be used for you or against you. And this other thought that might be evil, that won't go away, can be used for you or against you as well. It's all in how you respond to it. You have to choose how to respond to your thoughts. Like I said earlier, the thought that I had about killing my sister and having to really come to grips with the decisions I'd made around that. Now, I could have ignored that. I could have said, well, I didn't. Go on with life. I'm done with that. I didn't do that. Or I could have taken that bombardment of thoughts that was accusing me and just going after me to try to destroy me. I confronted those things and said, wait, let's look at this. And strongly looked at the actions and the things and all the ideas that went around that situation where ultimately she passed away. I really, truly had done the best I could, and it was not my fault. And listen to me. If you're in a situation where you're bombarded with, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, guess what? It's not your fault. That would not be your fault. Because that's not the voice of God who says, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. Accuse, 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 accuse. That will never be a thought from God that won't go away. No. That's a thought from an enemy. That's a thought from a place of unbelief. That's a thought from a place of lies and vows and rejection and self-consciousness and thoughts like that want you to be slowly killed, slowly stolen from, and slowly destroyed. That's what that is. And if you will stop and recognize it as quickly as possible, maybe you go weeks, maybe you go years, but when you do realize that thought that won't go away has an intention to hurt you, that's when I want you to stop and go, wait, time out. Let's look at this. Let's see what she says. Decide what kind of life you want, then say no to everything that isn't that. I like the simplicity of that. Very good. I'm currently walking this out and need to share some things with someone that God has been speaking to me about, but fear, of rejection has been keeping me from doing it. Well, identify, look at that fear of rejection, and then once you wonder why you feel like you'll be rejected, look at what will happen to you if you get rejected, because you might get rejected. They might say no. They may not want to hear what you have to say. They may not care about what you want to say, and they may refute what you have to say, and they may throw it back in your face. Look at all those possibilities and be willing to live with them. And look at the positive that could happen as well. But definitely look at the negatives. You know why? Because it is the negatives that are controlling you, not the positives. It's these negative things that you're fearful of, not the positive things. So look at the negative things. Let those negative things be in your face. And then say, you know what? I can live with that. Knock them down. And then ask God, what is the timing for me to say this? And let God give you his motive. Because let me tell you something. God's motive in any and every situation is, will love come forth? Will you be loved? Will the end result be, will you be transformed into more of his image? Will they have an opportunity be transformed? Will they be strengthened? Will they be equipped? Will they be encouraged? Because if the end result will be, they feel like crap, they feel condemned, they're not going to be good enough, they feel incompetent. If that's going to be the end game for you to make them feel like that, then keep your mouth shut and wait till your heart is in the right place to deliver a message that could cause someone else also to feel rejected. Because if you have something that you're afraid that you'll be rejected from, it could be very well that they suffer from rejection issues also.
Yes, to go back to when she was talking about the accusation, I was just sensing that a lot of parents feel a lot of accusation, like, oh, my kid ended up in this rough situation because I was a screw up as a mom or a screw up as a dad, or I wasn't there enough emotionally, or I didn't see the warning signs, or I didn't give them enough nutrition or enough hugs, or crack down on their curfew, or like you did so many things wrong. Sure, there's people, we all make mistakes. There's no perfect parent. Maybe you did. Maybe you went through a rough season. You had a struggle, your own addiction or your own depression or whatever, and so you weren't fully able to fully do all the things that you wanted to be able to do for your kids. But even in that place, God's grace is so much bigger, and he's after your kids. But most of us that even isn't the case. No matter what you do, I know people who've grown up in like the perfect homes. They were told I love you all the time. They were, they had all these opportunities to be involved in things that they liked. They weren't lacking financially. They, it was like there was truly love and safety in their house. They were free to talk about things. No subject was taboo. And they still went off and did cuckoo things.
That's true.
So it's not at all on the parents. That just came to my mind.
Wow, that's good.
That maybe somebody needs to know that, because the blame game is really common, and it's not okay, because it's a bunch of big fat lies about who you are and who your kids are and how everything's a screw up and you can't go back and all of that. It's just a bunch of junk. And speaking of just the family dynamics, I was thinking earlier how I, for a long time, felt like, but I hadn't given it words. It was just like feelings or whatever. And then I realized I had language for it as an adult. And I realized I believed that my parents got the wrong daughter because even though they loved me and I loved them, I thought they got gypped because I was not very athletic. Both my parents were amazing athletes, and my brother is an amazing athlete. They all, certain things that I loved, like I loved reading and writing, I loved books, I like all music, really all kinds of music, but for a while especially I was really into like classical music when I was younger, and I was learning the cello and things like that. Nobody in my family, they learned to appreciate it, but that was never the go-to. No, and even in my extended family, like I just felt like the oddball in so many areas of life. And I just felt like even though I am a very funny I actually am a very funny person. Donna's known me in a very serious season of my life, but I'm a really funny person. Our whole family is hilarious. But a lot of my life, I also had like a dark cloud over me, and I was dealing with a lot of sadness and things that were never fully healed. And so I sometimes felt like, wow, they kind of got gypped because like my mom is so sunshiny and deals with things so quickly and doesn't hold judgments and bitterness toward people. And she just has a positive outlook on life. And I thought, man, I wish she had a daughter that was like, yay, and like became a cheerleader, and that whole thing, like they could have had so much fun together. And when I realized that I had believed all that and that there was actually language for it, and God was revealing to me, you've believed a lot of junk for like way too long in that category. Or also thinking that I was a bad sister because I was a kid. Kids do dumb things, but my brother and I have 6.5 years between us. And so when we were young, we were very close. We also lived in places where there weren't a lot of kids around, and we were each other's playmates. However, like when I was a teenager and he was in elementary school, and I was dealing with my own teenage junk, he was really wanting to hang around me, and I didn't realize just how much I was pushing him away. I knew I was to some degree, but he later had told me, it really hurt him. And then when I started college is when he started middle school. So I missed all his like little football games and all those things. And now we have a good relationship. I'm very thankful. But I felt over the years, gosh, I was a really terrible sister, and he must be lacking in all these other ways, or there's reasons why he's doing X, Y, Z because he had this example right here in his face. So I took on a lot of guilt and a lot of blame and a lot of shame and a lot of regret and accusation from those thoughts that just were always there. Sometimes the thoughts we're talking about we know they're in the forefront of our mind. We're consciously aware that we are thinking these things. There's other times that we aren't like sitting there thinking, well, I'm a terrible sister. Well, I'm a really bad daughter. You're not actually thinking those things. We're just going through our life, but all of our choices and all of our actions and all of our lens is all filtering all of that. And so God is the Spirit of truth, and He brings light, and He brings revelation, and He brings the and the aha, the epiphany, the whatever you want to call it, that flick the light on and exposes that thing that was never the truth and never intended for you. So that's what we're talking about is recognizing, and then what to do after you see that it's there. What are the action steps to take from that place? So it's another area where I have had to walk that through a lot of that. I started realizing, no, I'm the perfect daughter that God had very intentionally for my parents. And here's all these reasons that I know about. And there's, I'm sure, many reasons I don't even realize that he'll just continue to unfold for me. You know, I'm an amazing sister. And God, and honestly, side note, a lot of you know that my dad went to heaven in January, and the season right before that, we were all in the house, and it was a very intense but very beautiful time. It was very painful. And we were just trying to make the best decisions we could on a daily, hourly, minute-by-minute basis sometimes for my dad's health, his emotional health, physical health, honoring his choices that he had already made for his final season on planet. You know, when he couldn't make those decisions for himself, it was like literally just we're trying to work with, listen to God, listen to each other. How do we do this as a team? And I remember just doing the very best I could and not wanting any regrets in that area and thinking, I have to hear from you. I have to go with that, even if it feels a little weird or maybe against like what, you know, mainstream would think. We all have to have that knowing that this is the way that God is leading. This is the truth. This is the voice. This is the thought that is for Dad. And I'm almost done.
You're fine.
There's a worship song called "Good Good Father," which actually was one of the songs at my dad's service when he went to heaven. And one of my prayers was that the people that attended that service would really encounter God's love as a father, regardless of where they are in life, regardless of even if they don't even believe in him or they do like know him or whatever. I just wanted them to experience that, and if they were hurting, to know that he is a good father and he's going to show them his plan, or if they're, you know, angry, or if they're rejoicing and they're glad that, you know, Dad's good now. Like, I wanted them to feel free, that, anyway, to connect with him as father. But after that, I came back home and we sang that song in church, "Good Good Father." I heard God singing to me, "You're a good, good daughter. It's who you are. It's who you are. And you're loved by me. It's who you are. It's who you are." It's those lyrics. He's like, he switched them and it went into my heart. And it really helped me because I thought, I didn't really feel like I was carrying a lot of regrets from that particular season of like, do we make the right choices regarding Dad? Although a little bit was knocking on the door, but it didn't really have time to even come in because God was so right there. So those thoughts didn't have much ground to land on. I had regrets in other areas, but not that specific thing. And I'm very grateful for that because it was a really precious thing. So if you're struggling with, I've been a bad mom, sister, daughter, husband, friend,
wife,
employee, employer, neighbor, anything like that.
Wife.
Yes. Don't believe the lies. Love yourself.
Aunt.
Yes, I've believed most of these things. I haven't been a wife yet, but hey, I've thought, man, I'll be a bad wife at times. First is meeting yourself where you are and loving yourself. Second is we always have choices to make. And so what is a practical next step in that direction that brings life and is a good thing? And it's not a striving and trying to earning your way to be a good friend, or try to, I got to make up for 20 years of being mean to this person or feeling like I was a bad person. It's just starting where you are and then moving from here in love and truth and life, and letting those thoughts start being renewed and start dictating, rather than, you know, I have to, like, penance. We've been talking about penance, like trying to make up for stuff and earn things. Or if you give somebody a gift, you know, then they're giving you a thank you gift in return, and then you're giving them a thank you card for their thank you gift, and they give you a thank you card for your thank you card. I know people like this. It's not about that. It's just starting where you are, moving forward.
Another area in penance, so which would go with this context, is if you have, if you're not treating yourself or those around you in kindness. Because another definition of penance is harm. It's like self-harm. And self-harm is not cool either. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you deal with these kind of situations, you end up having thoughts of self-harm, which may not look like cutting yourself, may not look like roping yourself, but it could be not feeding yourself properly. It could be not eating. It could be not bathing. It could be not wearing a coat when you go outside, even though it's icy. It could be not reading something that you know would comfort you, but instead read something that would make you feel scary or alone because you feel like you deserve it. You know, the thought life is so important when you're in a position where you can either choose this way or this way. When you've been in this mode for so long and you come to your right mind, or you come to a place where you can pause and go, okay, I can actually choose what direction I'm about to take. It's in that place you need to identify. Do you want to choose to move forward in a place that's good for you and the people around you? Or do you want to choose to move forward in a place that's unhealthy and not good for you or anyone around you? And the reason I mention those around you is because we impact the people that we're with. And if you have no one with you, you impact the person that you see at the grocery store. Every single one of us has impact. And if you never see anybody, if you never leave your house and all you have is Facebook and all you're doing is watching this, I guarantee your posts influence somebody. Every person has some kind of influence if you are watching this or hearing this in any way, shape, or form. You have influence. But your first place of influence needs to be you. You need to lead you with a thought that won't go away, which is, God loves me, and I love me, and I like me. I love me, and I like me. No matter all these things, I love me, and I like me. Listen, one of the comments earlier by Kelly Wood, was decide what kind. I was talking about how she had impacted my life years ago, and how she'd always just she reminds me of my husband, really. Something will happen and he'll say, well, let it just be like water off a duck's back, and he'll just shake it and keep going. She was kind of like that in some things. And then there were some things that were devastating that maybe took her a little bit longer to shake. However, she was the person that always eventually, no matter what, eventually she made a decision. And once she made the decision, all of it came off of her, and she would just keep going. And so she made the comment, decide what kind of life you want, then say no to everything that isn't that. Decide what kind of life you want, then say no to everything that isn't that. That sounds like a very positive, optimistic, intentional, almost motivational thing. But truly, let's look at that. Decide. First of all, it starts with a decision. Do you want to be sane tomorrow? Maybe you're not in your right mind today. And maybe in not being in your right mind, that means you're walking around the house without your slippers on or with your slippers on. You're basically barely dressed. You haven't brushed your teeth, even though it might be 1:30 in the afternoon. You haven't eaten anything. Your hair is a mess. You're not answering the phone. You're just looking at your phone. You haven't answered telephone calls nor the door. You haven't checked your mail in a while. You're walking around kind of looking at the video. You're watching me on the video right now, thinking to yourself, man, are you looking at my life? Do you see me telepathically? Yes, I see you. Listen, you have to decide. So, making big decisions start with making little ones. It's very difficult for you to decide what you're going to do with your finances if you can't even decide to get dressed and have self-respect for the day. Decide to get up and brush your teeth. Decide to get up and go to the door and open it and see what package is there. These simple decisions that seem so simple to us, there are some people literally trapped in thoughts that have not been able to go away, that have kept them entrapped and ensnared and in this dark place in their house or wherever, where they're not coming out to play with anybody. And sometimes you can be there for so long, you don't even know what started you there, and you don't know why you're stuck there. You can be someplace so long, you forgot why it happened. So when you come to the place where you realize, wait, I don't want to be in this place tomorrow, make that decision. I don't want to be in this place tomorrow. Decide now what kind of life you want. Maybe you can't decide what kind of life you want for the next 20 years. How about you decide what kind of life you want tomorrow? How about you decide what you want to eat for dinner? How about you decide that you're going to go take a bath and clean yourself up and be ready when somebody comes home, instead of looking like you don't care about yourself or anybody else? How about starting with ignoring how you feel and making a decision that overrides your emotions and overrides your feelings and causes you to come into a place of self-respect for you and perhaps somebody with you. So decide what kind of day you want. Decide what kind of tomorrow you want. And then say no to everything that isn't that. So, I don't want my tomorrow to look like today. So that means I need to have a plan for tomorrow. So that means when I go to bed and I wake up, I'm going to get up immediately. I'm not going to wait and get up until at 1. I'm going to get up immediately. I'm going to brush my teeth immediately. I'm going to take a bath immediately. I'm going to go eat breakfast immediately. I'm going to dress myself immediately. I'm going to put on my shoes immediately. I'm going to be prepared at any moment to see anyone who comes to me. And I'm going to be able to look at myself in the mirror with self-respect and say, hey there, you're looking good. Start there. Just start there. Starting today is a good way for you to get to tomorrow with a new frame of mind and possibly a new direction for your entire life, just because you made a decision today to live one day at a time until that darkness is so far behind you, you don't even know why you were in it in the first place.
Yes. Earlier she said something about, I don't know if you used the word abuse or it just reminded me of abuse, but I was just going to touch briefly on, she mentioned self-harm and how sometimes self-harm can look intentional and overt, like cutting yourself or beating your head against a wall or driving recklessly and not wearing your seatbelt or things like that. Other times it is not eating or not taking care of yourself, things like that. It can also be negative self-talk. If you're constantly beating yourself up on the inside, even though your outside looks normal.
Yes.
I'm definitely familiar with that. When people are like, oh yeah, you're good, but on the inside, I've been bombarded and overwhelmed with negative thinking and negative perspective on myself. And we're just talking today about thoughts and what to do with the thoughts that won't go away, or the thoughts. Sometimes you don't even realize that you're having these thoughts in a certain way because they've been there for so long, they feel like you're normal. So it's like, when you live in a house or you drive the same car every day, and then someone else comes over and they're like, oh, what am I smelling? It could be a really good thing, or it could be like, what am I smelling? And you're like, I smell nothing, because that's your normal. That's what you've been accustomed to.
Wow. Or,
if someone has like a physical problem, like they're like, for me, when I've had like bones out of alignment, sometimes I know because I've had pain and I can't move my neck that direction. Other times it's like I'm not super hurting, but when I get aligned, I'm like, oh man, this is what normal is. I kind of forgot. I can actually move in all the directions, and I can sleep better, and I can walk, and I can sit better. And it's like you realize the difference and what normal really is versus what you thought your normal was. I think that's another thing to think about regarding even areas of self-harm, abuse, or thinking. Sometimes it can also apply in an external abuse situation. If you're with someone who's very verbally abusive to you, or a friend that's not really a friend. And I'm not talking about, tit for tat. I did this for you. You have to do this for me.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about like actual harmful, toxic situations.
But they're so comfortable to you. You like their presence.
which I was gonna say sometimes we define toxic a little bit wrong, I think, because I see a lot of posts on Facebook, and Donna has mentioned these too. Like sometimes they're just like, if you have something harmful, just run for the hills, screw them, you know, and that's not always the case. There is a difference between, you know, it takes two people to work on things to actually be committed and have a real relationship. But that's different from
that person's trying to kill you at night.
Yes, or it's always a one-sided thing, or they're bringing damage to you
or your family,
in your emotions, your
yes.
body, or, you know, it's not life-giving. And or you allowed it for a while because, well, you believed you were this tiny. So sure, a person who tells me I'm tiny all the time, okay, I'll be in a relationship with you because that's the truth. But when you start learning, hey, I'm not this tiny anymore. I never really was. I just thought I was this tiny. And you start rising up and believing true thoughts, that can alter things in your decisions about friendships, relationships, things like that. And yes, God is the Redeemer, and there are many opportunities where He can fix situations and gives us strategies, and especially when two hearts are saying yes, regardless of the mess, He can work through anything. But there are some times where it's just like, no, it needs to stop, and that's just the best for all involved. Yes.
There are situations like that. Since we went in that direction. Listen, if you're in a situation where someone is harming you, someone is physically harming you, someone is cussing you upside down, one side or the other, someone is causing you to be fearful for your life, those, I would say, are not just toxic, they are harmful. That's harmful. And those are situations, listen, I get calls sometimes from folks that have situations with people, and they're asking me for their help because they know of situations, and sometimes it goes through CPS, sometimes it goes through APS, and sometimes they just don't know what to do, and so we have to pray and see what can be done. And sometimes the police are already involved in all those kind of situations. And then there are situations with people who are so accustomed to be treated so unkindly that they don't know that it's not okay. And so in that situation, when you realize it's not okay, you got several choices. One is to remain and start standing up to that thing that you've been in agreement with all these years. That you helped create the problem of you not being okay because you let it happen over and over and over. The other is packing your stuff and getting the heck out in the middle of the night. And the other is, unfortunately, which happens and is not cool, is waiting for something to happen to you that is illegal and unkind, and then the police having to get involved. And then there has to be all sorts of proof and all sorts of ugly things that take place in order for it to get resolved. And then sometimes you get harmed even more. I don't know how we got into this or why we're onto this, but maybe it's going to help somebody. Listen, whoever you are, whoever this is for, clearly this isn't for everybody. But if you are in a position where you are being harmed, or you are in a position where you have a thought where you want to harm yourself, you know, the thought that won't go away, that you either want to harm yourself or you want to harm somebody else, those are not thoughts from truth. Those are not thoughts from life. Those are not thoughts of self-protection. No, these thoughts need to be redirected, because you don't need to end up in jail, and you do not need to end up dead, quite frankly, because you allowed your emotions to get entangled with a thought that wouldn't go away, that convinced you that you have nothing to say, that takes you and tells you there's no other way but for you to end up dead on a street someday, all that, those are shenanigans. Those are not from a place of life. So I want to pray for that right now. Wow, this is heavy in my heart. So those of you that pray, you stay. Right now, we release life into those that have been choosing death. We release a new pathway into those that have thought there's no other way. We pull out the trees, the maze of trees that have caused there to be a blindness and so much darkness they didn't know that there was light at the end of the pathway. We pull off the blinders from the eyes that have kept them from thinking that it's okay that they be harmed. We'll pull out the wax from the ears that have kept them from thinking that it's okay that they not say anything about them being harmed. We pull out what's caused deafness and muteness. And we release life and truth and life and truth and life and truth. We release safety and life and truth. Listen, God is not a control freak. I know that it happens that sometimes angels just visit and they do all sorts of cool stuff. Praise God. But there are also times when we as human beings, we are supposed to take action. We're supposed to take action. So if you know of situations where there are things happening and you know that those things need to change, I encourage you to either A, pick up the phone and go talk to them, B, go to their house, open the door and go and visit with them, C, invite them over for coffee, D, slip a note underneath their door that says, I love you, I love you, I love you, I want to have a relationship with you for a long time, don't go away, whatever it takes. Be a good neighbor. Even if that person is a long ways away, message them until they have to basically, close down their account because you're making them nuts. Do whatever it takes on your end, not out of striving, but out of loving. Why? Love never fails. Love never gives up. Love never harms. This is love, the power of love. It's the power of love.
That's my dad's favorite 80s song, I think. Huey Lewis.
You got anything else you want to share? Because we're probably going to close soon. You got something? Bring it.
No, I was thinking I was just about done. I did have one more thought, and it's kind of escaping when you started singing.
Thought, come back. Don't go away. The thought that won't go away.
I don't know. Maybe quickly just taking thoughts captive, how people think about that verse.
Okay, people talk about, there is a scripture, great principles in the Word of God that can save our lives. It talks about taking every thought captive unto obedience to Christ and punishing those things. Listen, let me give you a thought regarding that. Let's be practical. Let's say there's the thought of, I don't like you, I want nothing to do with you. Say that.
I don't like you and I don't want anything to do with you.
Keep saying it.
I do not like you. I don't want anything to do with you.
Just keep talking.
I don't like you.
Just
I don't
keep
want
saying
anything
it.
to do
Don't
with
even
you.
stop. Just keep.
I don't like you. I don't want anything to do
So
with
these
you.
thoughts are bombarding you.
I don't like you, and I don't want anything to do
No
with
matter
you.
what you do, no matter where you go,
like you
have these
I don't
thoughts
want
coming.
anything to do
And
with
you're
you.
like, oh my God.
I don't like you. I don't want anything to do with you.
I've got to get help.
I don't like you.
I even get my Bible
I don't
out.
want anything
I'm
to
like,
do with
crap.
you.
Why is this thought?
I don't like you.
Why is this
I don't
coming?
want anything
I don't
to do with
understand.
you. I do not.
What have I
like
done?
you. I don't want.
Oh my
anything
God.
to do with you.
And
I
it
don't
keeps
like you.
going and
I
going
don't want
and
anything to
going.
do with you.
And so you're thinking, what the heck? What's wrong with me? Keep talking.
Oh, I don't like you, and I don't want anything to do with you.
Why? Because the enemy
I
doesn't
don't
shut
like
up.
you, and I don't want anything to do with you. And I don't like you, and I don't want anything to do with you.
So what happens when you're in
I
a
don't like you.
place
I don't want
where this
anything
happening all the
to
time?
do with you.
Are you going to take
Also,
that thought captive?
I don't like you, and I don't want anything.
Why would
to
you
do
take
with you.
that thought captive?
I don't like you.
Why do
I
I
don't
want to
want
take
anything to
this
do with you.
thought and take it captive?
I don't like
What
you.
am I going to do with it?
I don't want anything
Am I going
to
to
do with
look
you.
at it? oh, and I'm going to
I
look
don't
at this
like you.
thought,
I don't want
pay attention to this
anything to do
thought,
with you.
and dwell on this thought. Hey, no,
I don't
we
like
don't
you.
want
I
to
don't
take
want
thoughts
anything to do
captive
with you.
that are thoughts that simply
I
want to
don't
kill,
like
steal, and
you.
destroy us,
I
right?
don't want
So
anything to
listen,
do with you.
when you have a thought like this
I
that
don't like
comes
you.
to kill,
I don't
steal,
want
and destroy,
anything to do
and
with
basically make you freaking insane,
I don't like you. I don't want anything to do
you
with
need
you.
to first of all say,
I don't
from
like
my
you.
spirit
I don't
alive
want
in
anything
Christ,
to do
I
with
command
you.
you to shut up. It had better shut up. From your spirit alive in Christ, it has to bow its knee to the command that comes from that place of identity on the inside. Now listen, what if later in the day I have other thoughts that come and I'm like la-di-do-di-do-di-do, and all of a sudden I'm thinking all these other negative thoughts about myself. Guess what happens then?
I don't like you. And I don't want anything to do with
All of
you.
a sudden that thought that you told to
I
shut
don't
up,
like you.
for
I
some
don't want
reason
anything
thinks
to do
it
with
can
you.
talk again. It
I
thinks it
don't
has
like
access
you.
again.
I don't want
Why?
anything to do
Because
with you.
these thoughts over here about
don't
me
like
not
you.
liking me,
And I don't want anything
I
to do
started
with you.
entertaining thoughts about me not liking me.
I don't
Now
like
all of
you.
a sudden it thinks
I don't want
it can
anything to do
continue
with
to
you.
remind me that it doesn't like
I don't
me
like you.
and it wants nothing to
I
do
don't
with
want
me.
anything to do
Guess
with
what
you.
happens? Eventually
like
I think it's my
I
voice.
don't want anything to do with you.
So I'm saying with this thought,
I
I don't
like
like
you.
me. I don't want anything to do with me. I don't like me. I don't want anything to do with me. I don't like me. I don't want anything to do with me. And what happens then? I am completely being divided. I'm being divided into two. I'm completely being divided into two. And there's this war going on against me. What caused the war? I caused the war. How did I cause the war? Because I allowed this thought, this idea to continue to barrage me until I let it be my voice. I let it be my thought. I let it be my idea. And listen, once it's my thought, once it's my idea, once it's me, then that means I have command over it. I have control over that thought. That's not taking that thought captive. That's taking that thought and owning it, and it becoming my own, until maybe one day I am so divided, I want to say bye-bye to me and bye-bye to everybody else. So what do you do when you have the thoughts like that? Listen, you train yourself little by little by little until you know that you know that you know that you know that that thought has to be underneath your feet. It has to shut up. It has to go away. So one way to do that is to get yourself some new thoughts. Now, I know the Word of God is quicker and powerful than any two-edged sword, but that word is talking about is an actual thought and idea that comes from God. The thought and idea from God that you are alive, that He created you on purpose, a thought and idea that comes from Him is far greater than a word on a page that you memorize to stand against an enemy who already knows all the words on that pages and has memorized all the words on those pages long before we were ever born. So take a thought from God, a thought from Him of truth, of life. Take an idea that you know He gave you, a thought He gave you about you. Find that thought and let that thought be the wall against this thought. Let this thought of I'm alive on purpose be the wall against I don't like me, until this has no more place, and it only keeps hitting this until it has to go find another person to bug and harass instead of you. That's one way. Another way is find, silly as it might be, shoot me if you want to. Let's say you find a thought, just a new thought. Yeah, I don't like these thoughts. These would not be the thoughts I would choose. Hey, it's good to know what thoughts you don't want to choose too. Shoot, I'm looking at these going, these are really negative thoughts. I don't think I ever want to use these thoughts for anything in the world.
But see, now you can tell the difference and you don't just eat it. There's
Yeah.
a lot of
Go ahead.
interjection. There's a lot of things, just Facebook as an example. I like Facebook. I'm not anti-Facebook. but it's a common place for people to post just and repost quotes and thoughts and things and one-liners that just sound really catchy and cutesy and powerful and inspirational. And sometimes they are. And sometimes they're really timely. And sometimes they speak directly to an issue or really strengthen your heart or kind of put you back on that track or in that right mindset. Like, yeah, that's good. And other times, I think that we just scroll so much and see so many of these little catchphrases and one-liners and little quotes that we don't fully really think, what is that actually saying? And we just kind of, like and share. And that's, yeah, inspirational. Or if it says it's inspirational, little tiny print at the bottom, we just, I don't really understand it. But yeah, that's just an inspirational quote. I'll just put it out there. And I think sometimes we don't really receive or even discern what's truth and what's just fluff or what's actually not helpful at all. I'm not dogging anyone. I know that sometimes it's like, wait, hold on. Let me pause and see what this is actually saying. And is this something I want to be washing myself with or washing over somebody else with? Or is this something I just need to move on from?
That's right.
Yeah.
Completely present.
Also, what she's talking about, the scripture talking about taking thoughts captive. Donna's actually the first person that I've met that actually put it from another angle as well, of when you have a life-giving thought. You take that thing and you say, yes. I'm taking this life-giving thought captive to obedience in Christ. And that will be applied in a life-giving way. It's not only the bad, it's actually the good as well. It's being conscious of our thoughts sometimes. Just being aware, doing a little check-in here and there. And if you've been struggling a lot with negative thoughts and negative bombardment, then you need to check in frequently right now. Just stop even several times a day. Even if you have I know people who literally put a little timer on or a little buzz on their phone or something quick. They're like, oh yeah, how am I doing right now? And just assess briefly. You don't need to, belly button gaze or do all that. Some people call it like different things. You need to spend 14 hours analyzing, but just kind of a little check-in of where have my thoughts been the last while? What am I thinking about myself or about this situation? What voices am I hearing? And then making choices as needed and then moving on from there. And then over time, maybe you don't need to check in as much, but sometimes it just takes that being proactive, especially if it's in a particular area. Or if you're going to be facing a situation where you know that in the past you've had a lot of bombardment in that area or around those particular people, or it's that time of year, or you're just in a particular mindset, or when you haven't had any sleep and you haven't had any food and then these other thoughts can come in and you just feel more susceptible. Whatever those things that you start recognizing, just getting proactive about, not from a place of fear, but just hey, I'm taking charge, I'm taking ownership, I'm taking thoughts captive, and we're being proactive about this, then it will definitely help. And these are things that I've definitely experienced, not just saying random things.
Yeah, being present. Being present for you. Being present for yourself. And a visual came to my mind. Sometimes it's like we have these positive things that we want to confront these negative things with. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't work. Because if it's not truth, and it's just some positive, the sky is blue, isn't it beautiful? That doesn't make the dark cloud go away. Truth is what makes the dark cloud go away. So I was picturing a glass of Coke, Coca-Cola, or Mr. Pibb, Dr. Pepper, whatever your flavor, but it's dark. And picturing the weight of that in there. And if you pour a little bit of stuff in there, it's really not going to change color. It's going to remain. But if you continue to pour in truth into this place where there's darkness, and you continue to pour it in at such a rate and such an intentionality that this dark stuff has to go versus it just mix together and become a new drink. See, this is the problem. We mix the positive with the negative and we come up with a new truth. But is that really what we need? Do you need a new truth? Or do you need truth? You know, it's interesting. There are men and there are women. And now there's both. I'd say that's a tad bit confusing. There are certain things that identify you as a man, and there are certain things that identify you as a woman. There's no confusion in that. They're both truth. There's a place where somehow, some way, in the midst of all of our lives, we've entertained a place of you can believe that and you can believe that and we can believe this and it's all okay. But that brings confusion. Some things are just true and some things are just not true. Some things are truth and some things are just flat out lies. And if you will be confrontive regarding those things that are actual lies, let's say you're a liar and you don't want to be a liar, but you're an actual liar, like a habitual liar. I knew some once many years ago. They really truly were a habitual liar. But they didn't know they were a liar. Why? Because they had told those lies for so long that one day they just thought they were true. And interesting, our pastor spoke about something similar to this the other day, and I thought, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know someone like that. There's a place where you have to find truth. There's this dark hole that wants to suck you dry and keep you dead or kill you one day. It is only truth that will break into that. This light breaks into this darkness and causes this darkness to be dispelled. But if you don't want truth, and you bring in, and you think this is true, but it's not true, and you bring this truth, which is really a lie, into your darkness, all it will do is create a new truth that is only darkness. It's not even true. It's not going to bring you life. It's just going to bring you death again. The emotions are squirrely places, man. That's why you have to have actual truth to bombard you, not just what you think is true. You can't decide. I cannot look at myself right now and say, I am a man. Baby, I got all the parts of a woman. I am not a man. Now, I know this went in a really weird direction. Some of you drove off. I don't care. I'm making a point. Some things are actually true. And some things are actually not true. And you can't make something that's not true, and you can't make something that is true false. So when you're bombarded with all these lies and all these vows and all this junk that caused you to be in this place of complete darkness and you're entrapped, it is truth that can make you free, not just someone coming alongside you to make you feel better in your darkness. That will not make you free. That will just clamp you down even harder so you can stay in that depressed mode and maybe one day to say sayonara to life because nobody had the guts or the courage to come speak truth to you that would break this open so you can be free. It takes great courage to bring truth and life and light on the planet. But if you like ambiguity, if you like everybody to be your friend, if you like that kind of coddling, then you will remain dark in that dark place and you won't get free. And then you will live in that thought that you took captive. Because everyone else came and locked those prison doors on you even more and more and more until you are just trapped inside the thought that you took captive, which was a lie. And then there you are forever to be. You need people Like Jen, she's sweet about it, but she will speak the truth to you to cause that one finger to come up so she can bring some truth inside that captivity you're in. Someone like other friends that have the audacity to come say, no, that's not true, and come in and try to pull you out of that place of darkness so that you can live, so that you can have joy, so that you can be happy and not just trapped and in despair and in depression, like it's okay that you be there. I know you got something to say.
Truth is not always cushy, but truth always sets us free. So you can take that to the bank.
Yeah. Anyway, we love you. Hi, Miss Peggy. It's good to see you. We've been on for a while.
Yep.
I know.
It's an hour and a half. So.
It's been an hour and a half. I know, it's kind of like a movie. We could charge admission and send you popcorn. Anyway, it was Intentional Monday, and we came to talk about our thought life, the thoughts that won't go away, what to do with negative thoughts that won't go away, how to incorporate positive thoughts, and that's what this part was about, bringing in positive thoughts into a negative thought life until the negative doesn't have as much hold on you as the positive, so that you can wiggle out of that negative encampment and prison to find truth that will make you completely free. Listen, you can still be out of this prison and still not be free. But if you allow truth to continue to just become one with you, one day you'll find that you are truly free, and able to roam about the cabin knowing who you are. Because knowing the truth is all about knowing who we are, knowing our identity, knowing that we have value and worth on the planet, that we are not just junk, we are not just nobodies, we are not, and I'm not talking loving yourself and screwing everybody else. I'm talking about having a true honor for yourself as a human being, right? When you have a true honor for yourself as a human being, you bring honor to those around you. So if you notice yourself being unkind to others on purpose and treating somebody like crap and snapping somebody's head off, it's not because of them. It's because of what's inside of you and how you view you. You just don't realize it. It always comes back to you. And you get to own you. I get to own me. She gets to own her. We get to take our own responsibility over our thought life until we're walking in truth into who we really are, so the planet can taste and see and know that God is good inside of us and inside of them. It's all about that. So the Lord bless you with the thought that will not go away. I pray that the thought that won't go away for you today will be that you have value, that you're important, that you're significant, that there's nobody like you, that you can live a long life, that you can live healthy, that God can give you thoughts and ideas from Him that can give you strategies and strength for you and your family. I pray that you will receive the thoughts that won't go away, that are from a place that's from a heavenly place, that's looking from the outside, looking from the inside out of you, where Father, Son, and Spirit live, because the three of them are in union. The three of them are never unhappy. The three of them are never sad. The three of them are never in collusion against us. The three of them are always for us and always have a plan. All we have to do is lean into that plan and move forward with the thought that they give us that won't go away. And we will bear fruit from that. In Jesus' name. Okay, until soon. We'll see you probably Friday. Jen comes on, jump in with Jen on Thursday. Sandy is tomorrow, slip in with Sandy on Tuesday. And Wesley is tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Slip in, wade in with Wes. We got all these watery things. I know, right? They're funny. And Friday is usually Friday Friendship or Friday Fellowship. And so if you see anything about that, be sure and sign up for that. Anyway, blessings to you.
Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, wait, I forgot. We forgot. So this is where we come on. Friday is when we come on to solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one. Until soon. Bye-bye. Hi, Miss Carmen. Good to see you. Watch the whole thing. We're just ending. I'm sorry. Blessings. Bye-bye.